On the night of my 18th birthday, while my cake was still half eaten in the fridge, my parents tossed my bag onto the front lawn and told me to figure it out. No warning, no money, not even a goodbye. Just like that, I was homeless and invisible. For months, I slept on benches and ate from vending machines, wondering what I did to deserve it. But here's the twist. They thought they broke me. But they actually built something stronger. And now, I'm the one they're begging to be proud of them. My name is Noah, and until the day I turned 18, I believed I had a family who loved me. Not perfect, not warm and fuzzy, but I thought we were okay. We lived in a small house in Oregon. My dad worked in construction. My mom stayed home, and I had a little sister named Emily, who was 7 years younger than me. She was their sunshine, their princess, the one who could do no wrong. Me, I was the afterthought. Still, I played my role. I kept my grades up, stayed out of trouble, worked part-time at a grocery store since I was 15. I'd cook dinner when Mom didn't feel like it, walk Emily to school when Dad was too busy. I didn't complain. I figured this is what being the oldest meant: responsibility, sacrifice, earning your place. But I was wrong. Nothing I did ever seemed enough. My parents never hit me, but their words cut deep. Why can't you be more like your sister? You'll be out of here the second you're legal. Don't expect handouts in life, Noah. No one's going to take care of you. They said it like a joke over dinner sometimes. I used to laugh along, pretending I didn't feel the sting. But deep down, I wondered, did they mean it? Turns out they did. The night I turned 18, I came home from my shift at the store to find my stuff packed in 2 trash bags by the door. My birthday cake was still in the fridge, half-eaten candles barely melted. My dad handed me the bags and said, "Time to figure it out. You're an adult now." I stood there frozen. Thought maybe it was some twisted prank. "Wait, are you serious?" I asked, laughing nervously. Mom didn't even look at me. She just handed me a jacket, not even my good one, and walked away. Dad shrugged. "This is real life, Noah. You want to be a man? Then act like one. You've had 18 years. Now go learn something." I begged them to at least let me stay the night. One more day to make a plan. But Dad opened the door and set out. I didn't even get to say goodbye to Emily. She was already asleep. So there I was, standing on the porch, in the dark, holding 2 garbage bags full of clothes and school notebooks with $43 in my wallet and nowhere to go. No car, no job lined up after the grocery store let me go that week. No relatives nearby. Just the cold night and the sound of the door locking behind me. That was the moment everything changed. I spent that first night behind a library, curled up next to a recycling bin. The next few days were a blur of fear and denial. I tried to crash on a friend's couch, but their parents had said no. I searched for shelters, but they were full. So I did what I had to do, slept in parks, used public bathrooms to wash up, and rationed my cash like it was gold. Meanwhile, back home, Emily still had everything. A warm bed, home-cooked meals, birthday parties, dance lessons. Mom posted photos of her on Facebook with captions like, "So proud of my little angel." Not a word about me. That's when it really hit me. They didn't kick me out because they had to. They did it because they wanted to. I was never the golden child. I was the extra mouth. The problem, the lesson, they called it tough love. But here's the thing. Tough love doesn't feel like love at all. Still, I tried to survive. I found a spot behind an abandoned laundromat where I could sleep undisturbed. I applied for jobs at gas stations, fast food joints, anything. But it's hard to get hired when you don't have a permanent address or clean clothes. One manager told me, "You look like trouble." I didn't blame him. I looked like I hadn't slept in a week, because I hadn't. Eventually, I landed a job washing dishes at a diner that didn't ask too many questions. It paid just enough for me to eat once a day. I still didn't have a place to stay, but at least I had food. The cooks let me take scraps home, or rather to the bus stop, where I'd sleep with my jacket wrapped around my feet. People passed me every day. Some looked away, some whispered. No one stopped to ask who I was, what had happened. I became invisible, and yet I kept going. Because deep down, I was angry not just at them, but at myself, for believing I ever mattered to them. I promised myself I'd get out, not just survive, but thrive. I didn't know how, but I'd find a way. They told me to figure it out, so I would, even if it killed me. It's funny how the people who hurt you the most always find a way to justify it. About a week after I was kicked out, I got a text from my mom. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even a "how are you?" It just said, "Let us know when you've figured things out. This is part of growing up." Like this was some kind of lesson. Like abandoning your child was a reasonable parenting strategy. I didn't reply. What could I say? That I was sleeping behind dumpsters and eating leftover toast from a diner? That my feet were blistered from walking miles to job interviews I never got? That every night I cried into my jacket wondering how my own parents could be so heartless? No. I kept the anger inside. What made it worse was watching how they treated Emily in the meantime. Through borrowed Wi-Fi at the library, I would sometimes check their social media. I know it was like self-inflicted pain, but I couldn't help it. There she was, smiling at the zoo. New dress, new bike, birthday party with 20 kids. Dad built her a treehouse. Mom posted a caption, "Doing everything for my baby girl. She deserves the world." And I thought, so I didn't. I gave up weekends to babysit her. I helped her with math homework when Mom said she was too tired. I skipped school dances because we couldn't afford both our needs. But now that I was gone, they were living like a happy little family without a single hiccup. It felt like erasure, like I'd never existed in the first place. One day, about 2 months into being homeless, I saw my parents at the gas station. They didn't notice me at first. I was buying a water with loose change, head down, hoodie up. But when I walked out, they were standing near the pump, and I heard my dad's voice. "Is that Noah?" I froze. My mom's face dropped when she saw me. Her expression wasn't concern. It was embarrassment. Like I was some stain she hoped no one would see. Dad crossed his arms. "So, how's real life treating you?" I wanted to scream, but I just said, "Fine," he smirked. "Told you it'd make a man out of you." My mom muttered, "You look awful. You should do something with yourself." I stared at them. These were the people who threw me out like garbage, and now they were critiquing how I looked. "I'm doing what I can," I said, my voice shaking. "You didn't exactly leave me with much." Mom rolled her eyes. "You're not the first 18-year-old to move out. We had to make space. You were holding yourself back, staying home." "Emily still lives there," I shot back. "You're not kicking her out when she turns 18, are you?" Dad stepped in. "She's different. She's not lazy." That hit like a punch to the gut. Lazy, I'd been working since I was 15. Cooking, cleaning, helping raise their daughter. And now, I was lazy because I wasn't thriving on the street. I'm not lazy, I said through clenched teeth. I'm surviving, and I'm not asking for anything from you. Good, Mom said, because you won't get it. They got in their car and drove off, just like that. That night, I sat on a bench in the park and cried harder than I had in weeks. Not because I missed them, not because I wanted to go back, but because I finally realized the truth. They never saw me as a son, just an obligation, a phase to grow out of. And I made a decision right then. I was going to prove them wrong. Not by begging for love, not by coming back successful just to earn their approval. No. I was going to build a life so solid, so meaningful, that their rejection would become irrelevant. But it wouldn't be easy. There were nights when I thought I might die out there. One time, someone stole my backpack while I was asleep. Inside were the only clean clothes I had, my ID, and a half-written notebook I was using to plan my next steps. I reported it to the police, but they didn't care. Another homeless kid, another statistic. So I started documenting everything. At first, it was just journal entries on borrowed paper. But one day at the library, I watched a YouTube video of a guy who filmed his journey out of homelessness and got support from strangers. Something clicked. I used a borrowed phone from a kind shelter worker to film my first short clip. It was shaky and raw. Just me explaining who I was, where I was sleeping, and what I'd been through. I uploaded it from the library computer with the title, "They Kicked Me Out on My Birthday, I'm Still Standing." I didn't expect much, maybe a few views, maybe some pity, but the comments that came in changed everything. You're not invisible. You matter. How can I help? That's when the real story began. I didn't sleep the night my video went live. It wasn't nerves exactly. I'd long stopped caring what people thought of me, but there was a strange hum in my chest, like maybe something was about to change. The next morning, I walked to the library, heart racing, as I logged into the public computer. When the YouTube homepage loaded, I gasped. 12,942 views, over 1,000 comments. My hands trembled. The top comment read, "This is heartbreaking. I can't believe your own parents did this. You deserve better." "What's your Cash App?" another said. "Please keep updating us. You're brave for sharing your truth." I scrolled and scrolled. People were offering food money, job, shelter. Complete strangers. Some said they had been through the same thing. Others just wanted me to know I mattered. Tears blurred the screen. For the first time in months, I felt seen. That video changed everything. A volunteer at a community center saw it and messaged me, "We have a youth housing program. It's not much, but it's warm and safe. Come in tomorrow." The next day, I had a bed, a shower, a locker, a place to breathe. It wasn't glamorous, but to me, it was a palace. From there, I started posting weekly updates, short vlogs about my life. The reality of being homeless at 18, what it was like to be kicked out by your own family. People followed, donated, encouraged. I got a refurbished phone from a subscriber who worked at a nonprofit, a laptop from another viewer. My videos got better. My confidence grew. But the most important thing I got, a sense of purpose. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was fighting for something. I started talking to others at the shelter, helping them film their stories too. I created a small YouTube series called The Invisible Ones, And each episode was a real person, real story, real struggle. We weren't begging, we were bearing witness. The channel exploded. By the end of the first year, I had 100,000 subscribers. A sponsor reached out, then another. I turned the channel into a nonprofit project. Everything I earned, I split between helping others and reinvesting in equipment, bus passes, hygiene kits. People called me the voice of the forgotten. I didn't know how to handle praise. I was still sleeping in a bunk bed in a youth house, but I smiled every time someone wrote, "You gave me hope." And yet, my parents never said a word. 3 months into the project, I was invited to speak on a panel at a youth advocacy conference. I wore a suit someone had donated and stood in front of a crowd of 300 people, social workers, politicians, business owners. When they asked me, "What would you say to the people who abandoned you?" I didn't hesitate. "Thank you. You forced me to figure it out, but not in the way you intended. I didn't become strong because you prepared me. I became strong because you broke me." The quote went viral. It was reposted, shared, turned into TikToks and memes. I started getting emails from journalists, creators, schools asking me to speak. But I didn't feel like a success yet, because deep down, I was still angry. The first time I saw my mom again, it wasn't planned. I was filming a segment at a local food bank, highlighting the volunteers and showing how donations directly help people. I turned a corner with the camera rolling, and there she was, bag of canned goods in hand, alone, no makeup, looking older than I remembered. We locked eyes. She froze. I froze. The volunteer next to me said, "You okay?" I slowly lowered the camera. "Yeah, just surprised." My mom walked up, avoiding eye contact. Her voice was low. "Noah." I nodded. "Mom." She glanced at the camera gear, the people around me. "I've seen some of your stuff online." I didn't say anything. She looked uncomfortable. "You've come a long way." I waited. I wasn't going to make it easy for her. She sighed. "Your dad lost his job last year. Things got tight." So now, she wanted sympathy. I folded my arms. "I know what tight looks like. I lived it. Alone." She winced. "We thought we were teaching you independence." "No," I said flatly. "You were teaching me abandonment." She flinched at the word, and then she whispered, "I'm sorry." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I never thought I'd hear that. Not from her. But then she added, "We're proud of what you've done. Really." And that's when I knew it wasn't about me. It was about them. Their shame, their image, their desire to be connected to my success without owning their failure. I took a deep breath. "You weren't there when I needed a mom. I needed a home. You gave me a sidewalk." She started crying. "Can we try again?" I looked at her, at the woman who'd chosen comfort over her child. And I said, "You can try, but I'm not who I was anymore." Then I picked up the camera, turned away, and kept filming. That moment marked a shift in me. I wasn't chasing approval anymore. I wasn't doing this to prove anything to them. I was doing it for every kid sleeping in a bus shelter, every teen staring at a ceiling with no hope. I launched a community coffee truck called Grounded, a mobile cafe, where all proceeds went to housing youth. We hired teens from shelters, taught them business skills, gave them resumes and stability. The first truck ran 5 days a week. Then we got a second one, then a third. Each one had my story on the side in big letters. They told me to figure it out. So I did. Now, I help others do the same. We partnered with local churches, schools, festivals. Everywhere we went, we sold coffee and gave away dignity. 2 years after my parents kicked me out, I bought a small building. It used to be an old diner. We turned it into a youth center, showers, laundry meals, mentors, therapy. We called it the Turning Point. On opening day, news crews came. So did city officials. I gave a speech, told the story. No filter. I was kicked out with nothing but a backpack. No money. No safety net. Just the words, figure it out. I'm not standing here because I figured it out. I'm standing here because strangers cared more than my own parents. That's the power of community. That's what we're building here. The applause lasted a full minute. That same week, I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, no return address. It said, "We saw the story. We messed up. You were always enough. We were never ready to be the parents you deserved. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for thriving. Love, Dad." I folded the letter, put it in a drawer, and never wrote back. Because closure isn't something they get to ask for. I had already made peace, not with them, but with myself. 3 years to the day since I was kicked out, I stood in front of a crowd of hundreds at the State Youth Summit. Same date, same suit, different Noah. I looked into the cameras and said, "If your family fails, you build a new one. If the world ignores you, shout louder. And if someone tells you to figure it out so well they regret ever doubting you." The standing ovation that followed didn't heal everything, but it reminded me I had already won. 6 months after the Turning Point Center opened, we got a call from a high school counselor. She said there was a girl, 16, quiet, showing signs of food insecurity and depression. Her home life was complicated. Could we help? We invited her in, gave her a tour, fed her. She was smart, artistic, loved sketching sneakers and coffee cups. She started volunteering at the coffee truck after school. Her name was Ellie. It took a week before she told us her last name. And when she did, I froze. Ellie Carson, my sister. I hadn't seen Ellie since the day I was kicked out. Back then, she was just 10, my baby sister, clinging to my leg, begging Mom and Dad not to make me go. They told her I was a bad influence, that I was lazy, dramatic, entitled. She cried as I walked down the driveway with nothing but a trash bag full of clothes. Now, here she was, 6 years older, standing in my coffee truck, serving espresso to a customer, smiling. I didn't tell her who I was, not at first. I wanted to be sure she was safe, that she was here because she wanted to be, not because she had nowhere else to go. Over the next few weeks, we grew close. She started opening up. "My parents treat me like a doll," she said one night while sweeping the truck floor. "As long as I look pretty and smile, they're happy. But they don't see me. Not really." I nodded. "I know what that feels like." "They told me I have to go to business school," she scoffed, "but I want to study design." "They said art is for people who can afford to fail." I stayed quiet. "I used to have a brother," she added, staring at her broom. "He left when I was 10. I swallowed hard. "They said he ran away because he couldn't handle life. But I don't believe that anymore." "Why not?" I asked, gently. She looked up her eyes shining. "Because I've seen your face. On the wall, in the news, on this truck. My heart stopped. You knew, I whispered. She nodded. I knew the moment I walked in. That night we sat in the back of the truck and cried for everything we'd lost. The years, the silence, the lies. She told me about how strict they'd become after I left, how they used me as a cautionary tale, how they punished her for even asking about me. She said they still think I don't know where you are, but someday I'm going to leave too. And I said, you don't have to wait for someday. A month later, she moved in with a host family from our network, a warm older couple who ran a farm stand and treated her like gold. She transferred to a public art school, interned with our design team. Her sketches became logos, posters, t-shirt designs. She bloomed. And that's when the phone rang. Hello, is this Noah Carson? Yes. This is James. I'm calling on behalf of the Carson Family Foundation. Your parents have nominated you for the Rising Leader Award. They're hoping to present it to you at our annual gala. I stared at the phone like it had slapped me. I hadn't heard from them in 3 years. Why now, I asked. Well, the man chuckled. Your story's gone viral again. We think you'd be a perfect role model for other families. I laughed. Hard. Bitter. You mean I'd make them look good? There was a pause. They're trying to make amends. I hung up. 2 days later, I walked into my parents' house for the first time since I was 18. They looked older, but the energy was the same, like they were hosting a business meeting. My mom hugged me stiffly. My dad offered a handshake. We're proud of you, he said. I sat across from them. Ellie told me everything. They froze. She's doing great, by the way. Finally allowed to be herself, away from here. She left, my mother gasped. With you? No, I said calmly. With someone who values her. They fumbled, offering excuses, half apologies. My dad said, this award could be a new start for all of us. Public forgiveness. Healing. I smiled. Oh, I'll come to the gala, but not for the award. They blinked. Then why? For the truth. At the gala, they dressed me in a tux, seated me at the head table, gave me a plaque. When it was my turn to speak, I stepped onto the stage and looked out at a room full of donor city officials and polished smiles. I took a deep breath and said, 3 years ago, I was homeless. I slept behind dumpsters, ate from trash bins, and cried myself to sleep in public parks. Not because I was lost, but because my parents kicked me out. On my 18th birthday, with nothing. They called it tough love. I called it abandonment. And now they want to celebrate my success as if they helped build it. The room went silent. So let me be clear. I didn't succeed because of them. I succeeded in spite of them. And I won't let my story be whitewashed to ease their conscience. I walked off the stage to dead silence, then thunderous applause. Afterward, my parents left early. I never saw them again. But the next day, our donations tripled. Ellie launched her own design brand, and I slept like a baby for the first time in years. It's been 2 years since that night. The coffee truck is now a fleet, 5 trucks, 3 cities, all run by young people who once felt invisible. We call ourselves the Scene, because every human deserves to be seen, heard, believed in. Ellie is now our creative director. She's designed everything from our logos to the murals on each truck. Her art is everywhere, and so is her light. Sometimes she still struggles. So do I. Healing isn't linear. but we've learned how to catch each other when we fall. Last Christmas, we held a community dinner for teens with nowhere to go. One boy showed up with frostbitten hands and shoes held together by duct tape. He didn't say a word the whole night, just ate quietly, eyes darting around like he expected someone to yell. Afterward, he slipped me a note. "Thank you for seeing me." That's when I knew, really knew, that I'd made it. Not when I got the trucks. Not when I made my first million. Not even when my parents finally regretted what they did. But when a kid who felt as lost as I once did found hope again. That's the success I'll always carry. So if you're listening to this and your story sounds like mine, if you've ever been thrown away, written off, or made to believe you were too much, just know you are not broken. You are not a burden. You are not alone. And one day you'll turn your pain into purpose, and someone else will thank you for surviving.